My family filed false CPS reports claiming I was mentally unfit to parent, but they didn't expect the social worker to expose their lies in court. I'm 26 weeks pregnant with my first child, and my entire family has turned on me over a baby name. This thing has grown so out of control that I need an outside viewpoint because I can't tell if I'm being unreasonable or if my family has gone insane. My name is Emily, and I am 25 years old. I am married to Ryan, a 28-year-old man. We've been together 4 years and married for 2. We were overjoyed when we found out we were expecting a girl. Ryan and I spent several weeks looking through baby name books and internet. We eventually opted on the name Sophia Grace. Sophia, because we both liked how traditional yet modern it sounded, and Grace, after Ryan's late aunt, who helped raise him when his parents separated. We announced the name to both of our families around a month ago, and that's when everything went awry. My mother, Margaret 60, has been concerned with family rituals since I can remember. She comes from a huge Irish Catholic family in which names are passed down through the centuries. When we told her about Sophia Grace, her expression changed completely. She waited for a few seconds before asking if we had considered calling the baby Eleanor after my grandmother, who died 3 years ago. I need to tell you something about my grandmother Eleanor. Everyone in our family speaks about her as if she were a saint. She lived to reach 85 years old and was supposed to be the matriarch who kept everyone together. However, Eleanor was not the wonderful grandma that everyone recalls. Eleanor babysat me and my younger brother, Liam, 22 male, when our parents were out on weekends or during school holidays from the time I was 7 years old until I was nearly 16. Eleanor had extremely strict expectations for how children should behave. If Liam or I made a noise while she was watching television, she would lock us in the basement pantry. This wasn't just for a few minutes. We'd occasionally spend hours down there. The pantry was dark and smelled like rotten veggies. There were no windows, and the door was very hefty. Liam was younger than me, so he cried, which irritated Eleanor even more when she finally let us out. During these babysitting sessions, Eleanor would frequently withhold food as punishment for what she considered rude behavior. If we asked for a snack before dinner, or didn't sit totally still during her soap operas, she'd send us to bed hungry. She would persuade our parents that we had eaten enough and were simply being greedy. Our parents have always believed her. The worst aspect was how Eleanor spoke to us while our parents were not present. She would call Liam stupid since he had difficulty reading when he was younger. She would tell me that I was becoming overweight, and that no boy would ever want to marry me if I continued to eat so much. These statements resonated with me for many years. Even now, I can hear her voice when I look in the mirror. When Eleanor got older and went to assisted living, our family would pay her visits every few weeks. Everyone would comment on how wonderful she was, and how much they missed having her around. I would sit there silently, knowing that if I mentioned how Mom treated Liam and me, no one would believe me. Eleanor had fostered the impression of being the ideal grandmother, baking cookies and knitting sweaters. After Eleanor died, my mother began to talk about her even more. She would talk about Eleanor being the center of our family and how she taught us all about respect and tradition. Last year, my mother got Eleanor's name tattooed in cursive on her wrist. Every holiday she publishes images of Eleanor on social media, captioned with how much she misses her counsel and wisdom. So, when my mother suggested naming my baby after Eleanor, I quickly declined. I mentioned that Ryan and I had already chosen Sophia Grace and were pleased with our decision. My mother's demeanor hardened, and she stated that it would be selfish of me not to honor Eleanor's memory. She stated that Eleanor would have preferred to have a great-granddaughter take on her name. Over the next few weeks, my mother repeatedly mentioned the name Eleanor. Every phone call, text message and visit came back to how I should reconsider my decision. She began emailing me old images of Eleanor with my relatives and anecdotes about how Eleanor helped her get through difficult times when I was a baby. My father, Charles, 56, originally stayed out of the discussion but eventually began to back my mother. He would talk about respecting our elders and keeping family links. He reminded me that Eleanor had given me some jewelry in her bequest, demonstrating how much she cared for me. What he didn't realize was that Eleanor only left me jewelry since she bequeathed comparable gifts to all of her granddaughters. It wasn't because we had a particular bond. The situation worsened 3 weeks ago at my baby shower. My mother had planned the entire celebration at our neighborhood community center. Around 32 individuals attended, including aunts, cousins, family, friends, and several of my co-workers. Everything was going great until my mother stood up to deliver a speech. She began by thanking everyone for arriving and expressing her excitement about being a grandmother. She then expressed her desire that everyone would join her in persuading me to consider a more conventional name for the baby. She stated that Eleanor had been a very significant part of our family, and that it would be wonderful to have her name go on via her great-granddaughter. I noticed folks looking at me expectantly. Some of my older relatives were nodding as my mother said. My cousin Julia, 31, remarked that Eleanor would have liked to hear that a new baby would have her name. I stepped up and stated unequivocally that the baby's name was Sophia Grace, and that Ryan and I would not change our views. My mother's smile vanished immediately. She accused me of being stubborn and unable to consider the feelings of others. She said that Eleanor had done so much for our family, and that this was a simple way to honor her memory. When I reaffirmed that our decision was definite, my mother's voice became stronger. She claimed that I was impolite and ungrateful. At this point, the entire room fell silent. My baby shower had evolved into a public argument over my grandmother's name. I saw folks looking uneasy and whispering to one another. I sat back down and attempted to divert the subject, but my mother had not finished. She said we'd talk about it later and hoped I'd calm down before the baby arrived. The rest of the baby shower seemed weird. People were nice, but it was clear that they were discussing what had transpired. Some of my relatives left sooner than expected, and some people approached me privately to say they understood my situation, but advised me to try to work things out with my mother. Since the baby shower, things have grown considerably worse. My mother contacts me several times a day to discuss the name dilemma. My father has begun to show up at my house when Ryan is at work to have lengthy discussions about family loyalty and traditions. My brother Liam has been texting me that I should simply give in, because fighting with our parents isn't worth the stress while pregnant. My Aunt Teresa, a 48-year-old woman, visited my office last week. She approached me during my lunch break and told me that my mother was distraught over the name dilemma. She explained that Eleanor had always shown her pride in me, and that using her name would help to keep her spirit alive in our family. When I told Teresa that I had terrible memories of Eleanor, she suggested I was probably misremembering things because I was young at the time. The most aggravating aspect is that none of my family members will listen when I try to explain why I don't want to use Eleanor's name. They either change the subject or suggest that I focus on pleasant memories rather than keeping grudges. My 32-year-old male cousin Nathan informed me that Eleanor belonged to a different generation and that I should not judge her by modern standards. Yesterday my mother attended my doctor's appointment. She explained that she wanted to be there to hear the baby's heartbeat and had brought someone significant with her. When I walked into the waiting room, Eleanor's younger sister, Beatrice, 78, was sitting with my parents. Beatrice had drove 3 hours to attend this appointment. My mother added that she thought it would be meaningful for Beatrice to hear her great-great-niece's heartbeat, especially since the baby might be named Eleanor. Beatrice began discussing how Eleanor had always wanted more children, and how she would have loved to have a great-granddaughter named after her. When I repeated that the baby's name was Sophia Grace, Beatrice seemed perplexed. She stated that my mother had informed her that I was considering Eleanor as a name. My mother swiftly informed me that we were still discussing it and that I needed more time to think about it. I left the appointment without allowing anyone to hear the heartbeat. I drove directly home and called Ryan at work. When I informed him what had transpired, he suggested that we set stricter boundaries with my family. He suggested we draft a letter expressing our final choice and urging everyone to follow it. But I'm concerned that a letter will only make matters worse. My family has made it plain that this is more than just a disagreement over a baby's name. They regard it as a test of how much I respect our family's values and traditions. I know that if I continue to refuse, they will see it as me choosing to prioritize my own preferences over what they believe is appropriate. At the same time, I can't bring myself to name my kid after Eleanor. Every time I think about calling my baby that name, I recall being imprisoned in the basement pantry and being told that I was big and worthless. I don't want my kid to inherit the name of someone who caused me so much anguish, even if other people have fond memories of that person. I'm running out of time to tackle this issue. The kid is due in 12 weeks and my family's stress is just increasing. I'm not sure if I should stay hard on Sophia Grace and risk irreversibly destroying my ties with my parents and extended family, or if I should consider making a compromise that will make everyone pleased. Has anyone else experienced familial pressure on baby names? How did you handle it when your family insisted on honoring someone for whom you had no fond memories? I genuinely need assistance because this scenario is harming both my health and my marriage, and I'm not sure what to do next. Update 1. I mentioned 6 weeks ago that my family was urging me to name my daughter after my late grandmother Eleanor, who had mistreated me as a child. I replied I'd call her Sophia Grace instead. Many people advised me to stand steady, so I did. I wish I could say things turned out well, but they actually grew worse before they improved. I went into early labor at 35 weeks, 2 weeks after my previous post. Ryan hurried me to the hospital, where Sophia Grace was born healthy at 5 pounds 3 ounces. For the first day, everything seemed perfect. Ryan and I were fatigued but thrilled, and Sophia was doing well in the NICU as a precaution due to her early birth. On the second day, a nurse informed me that several individuals had called the hospital inquiring about me and the baby. My mother, father, Teresa, and cousin Julia all called me. They inquired about Sophia's health and visiting hours. I didn't contact any of them when I went into labor because I wanted to rest and bond with Sophia before dealing with family issues. That afternoon, my mother and father arrived at the hospital without warning. They had figured out which room I was in and walked right in as I was trying to breastfeed Sophia. My mother immediately ran to Sophia's bassinet and began taking shots of her with her phone. She was admiring and exclaiming how lovely her granddaughter Eleanor was. I corrected her, stating that the baby's name was Sophia Grace. My mother chuckled and said I'd come around once I realized how fitting the name Eleanor was for such a lovely baby. She stated that Sophia looked just like Eleanor in her infant photographs, and that this was clearly meant to be. My father stood beside the entrance, as if he were guarding it. He stated they were scared sick when they discovered I had given birth without telling them. He stated that family members should be the first to hear about these significant events, and that I had damaged their sentiments by excluding them. I requested them to leave because I was exhausted and still healing from the delivery. My mother explained that they had driven an hour to the hospital and deserved time with their granddaughter. She took Sophia up from her cradle without asking, and began wandering around the room with her. When I tried to reclaim Sophia, my mother told me I was being possessive and that grandparents had rights too. She stated that Eleanor would have wanted her to be engaged in raising her great-granddaughter, and that I couldn't keep Sophia away from family members who loved her. At this point, Ryan had returned from obtaining coffee in the cafeteria. When he noticed my mother holding Sophia and my father blocking the door, he instantly requested them to leave. He explained that we had requested privacy during our first few days as new parents, and that they should respect our desires. My mother claimed Ryan was turning me against my own family, and was the reason I was being so tough over the name issue. She claimed that if Ryan truly valued family traditions, he would encourage me to honor Eleanor's memory, rather than promoting his own family's names. Ryan snatched Sophia from my mother and instructed the nurse to contact security. He said that we had not invited them to the hospital, and that they were causing stress during what was supposed to be a tranquil period. My parents left, but not before my mother stated that this was not the end, and that they would find a way to maintain a contact with their granddaughter Eleanor, whether I liked it or not. The next day, Miss Patel, a social worker, visited my room. She explained that the hospital had received a call expressing concern about my mental health and capacity to care for Sophia. The caller said that I was suffering from postpartum depression and had paranoid ideas about my family members. Miss Patel added that she was mandated to perform a wellness check whenever the hospital received these types of calls. She questioned me about my support structure, my mental health history, and my plans for Sophia's care following discharge. She also inquired about my family relationships and whether I was experiencing any conflicts with relatives. I informed Miss Patel about the pressure I was receiving from my family regarding Sophia's name and how they had arrived at the hospital without authorization. I emphasized that I did not have postpartum depression, but was concerned about my family's behavior. Miss Patel stated that the person who contacted had supplied precise information about my alleged mental health difficulties. They claimed that I was refusing to let family members see the baby and making unreasonable judgments about the baby's care. They also claimed that my husband encouraged these habits while isolating me from those who cared about me. After speaking with me for approximately an hour, Miss Patel stated that she saw no signs of the difficulties highlighted during the phone chat. She described me as a capable new mother dealing with regular family stress. She stated in her report that no further intervention was required. 2 days later, Sophia and I were discharged from the hospital. Ryan had invited his sister Lauren, 31, to stay with us for the first week to help with cooking and cleaning. Lauren lives 4 hours away and took time off work to be there for us. On our third day home, my Aunt Teresa arrived at our door with my cousin Nathan and his wife, Rachel, a 27-year-old woman. They expressed concern for me and wanted to ensure that I was taking adequate care of Sophia. Teresa stated that my mother was concerned since I had not returned phone calls or responded to text messages. The fact was that Ryan and I had opted to switch off our phones for a few days to focus on getting used to life with a newborn. We were both fatigued and overwhelmed, and we didn't want to deal with family conflict as we learned how to care for Sophia. Teresa pushed by Ryan as he answered the door and entered our living room. She stated she needed to witness for herself that Sophia was healthy and well-fed. Nathan and Rachel followed her inside, despite Ryan's warning that this was not an appropriate moment for visitors. Lauren was in the kitchen preparing dinner when they arrived. Teresa immediately began grilling her about her identity and why she was in our home. When Lauren mentioned that she was Ryan's sister and was assisting us during our first week home, Teresa stated that family members, not strangers, should provide support. Teresa walked upstairs to our bedroom, where Sophia slept in her cradle. She awoke Sophia by lifting her up and inspecting her as if she were a doctor. She commented on Sophia's gaunt appearance and inquired as to when she had last eaten. Teresa expressed concern that Sophia's hour-long meal might not be sufficient for a developing infant. Nathan took images of our house with his phone, including Sophia's nursery, our kitchen, and our living area. When Ryan inquired why he was taking photos, Nathan explained that he wanted to preserve Sophia's living conditions in case there were any problems later regarding her care. Rachel began asking me extensive questions about my daily routine with Sophia. She wanted to know how frequently I fed her, how much I slept, and if I was taking any drugs. When I inquired why she required this information, she explained that my mother was concerned about my capacity to bear the demands of parenting. After they left, Ryan and I knew that this visit was more than just to check on us. They had been gathering information and documenting our household condition. Ryan summoned his sister Lauren and ordered her to jot down everything that had occurred throughout the visit, including the questions they had posed and the images Nathan had taken. That night, Ryan's phone rang at 2 a.m. Linda, his mother, is 58 and lives in another state. Linda stated that she received a bizarre phone call from someone pretending to be my mother. The caller said that I was suffering from severe postpartum depression, and that Ryan was encouraging my mental health issues. Linda stated that my mother had urged her to persuade Ryan to bring Sophia to live with my parents while I received appropriate treatment for my mental health concerns. My mother had expressed concern about Sophia's safety and provided papers indicating that I was incapable of caring for a newborn. Linda informed Ryan that the phone call made no sense because she had been messaging with both of us on a daily basis since Sophia's birth. She said we looked like normal new parents who were exhausted yet joyful. She had noticed no evidence of the severe mental health issues that my mother had stated. Ryan told his mother about what had happened with my family and the pressure on Sophia's name. Linda stated that she was surprised by my family's behavior and wanted to assist us in any way she could. She offered to come stay with us if we required further assistance. The next morning, we discovered that my mother had been calling Ryan's co-workers and my former co-workers. She had been informing folks that I was experiencing a mental health crisis and that we required help from friends and relatives. Several folks had contacted Ryan to see if there was anything they could do to aid us during this terrible time. Ryan contacted his HR department to say that someone was spreading misinformation about our family circumstances. His manager was understanding and stated that they would not take action based on the phone calls they had received. However, Ryan was concerned about how these calls might harm his professional reputation. I recognized my family was running a campaign to damage my legitimacy as a mother. They weren't only pestering me for Sophia's name anymore. They were aggressively attempting to persuade others that I was mentally unwell and unable of caring for my baby. Ryan and I decided we needed legal advice. We contacted Mr. Alvarez, a family law attorney who focuses on grandparents' rights disputes. We wanted to know what legal options my family could have, and how we might protect ourselves and Sophia from future harassment. Mr. Alvarez stated that grandparents' rights regulations differ by state, but in most situations, grandparents cannot get custody or visiting rights unless they can demonstrate that the parents are unfit, or that there are exceptional circumstances, such as the death of one parent. He stated that my family would require strong evidence of neglect or abuse to successfully challenge my parental rights. However, he warned us that fraudulent reports to social services may have serious consequences, even if they were proven unjustified. He suggested that we document any encounters with my family members, and keep track of their attempts to interfere with our parenting decisions. We decided to issue a cease and desist letter to my parents, Teresa, and cousin Nathan. The letter indicated that they were no longer welcome in our home without an invitation, and that they should refrain from contacting Ryan's family members, employers, and social services with false information about our family status. The letter also noted that we were willing to pursue a restraining order if the harassment persisted. Mr. Alvarez stated that having this letter on file would assist prove a pattern of inappropriate behavior if we needed to take additional legal action. 3 days after we sent the letter, my brother Liam called me. He added that our parents were distraught by the legal letter and that they believed I was punishing them for caring about me and Sophia. He said that they were just trying to help and that I was overreacting to their worry. Liam explained that our parents loved me and wanted to be a part of Sophia's life. He suggested that if I agreed to compromise on the name problem, everything would return to normal and we could be a happy family again. He proposed that I use Eleanor as Sophia's middle name, rather than Grace. I told Liam that it wasn't only about his name anymore. I mentioned how our parents had falsely reported my mental health and had been lying to everyone in our professional and personal lives about our family circumstances. I told them that their actions had crossed a line, and I couldn't trust them around Sophia. Liam stated that he was unaware of the phone calls to social services and Ryan's employment. He stated that our parents had informed him that they were just concerned about me and wanted to ensure that Sophia was properly cared for. He stated that he will speak with them about backing off and giving us space. However, the next day, my mother left a voicemail on our house phone. She said that the legal letter demonstrated that I was not thinking properly and that Ryan was influencing my judgments. She stated that Eleanor would be heartbroken to learn that her great-granddaughter was being kept away from family members who loved her. She stated that they would not give up on having a relationship with their granddaughter, Eleanor, and that they would find a way to ensure Sophia was aware of her family lineage, even if I was determined to exclude them from our lives. That message made it plain that mailing the legal letter had not resolved any issues. My family remained persuaded that they were the victims in this situation and that I was the one acting inappropriately. They were still calling Sophia the wrong name and devising methods to get into our lives. Ryan and I understood we would need more legal protection if we were to keep our family safe from the continued harassment. Update 2. My previous update was 3 months ago, when my family was bullying us for naming our daughter Sophia and circulating false information about my mental health. Things quickly escalated after that, and I feel compelled to share what occurred in the hopes that other people dealing with family legal concerns would find it useful. Sophia and I were at a routine pediatric checkup when my mother, father, and Aunt Teresa arrived in the waiting area. They had somehow learned about the appointment and decided to go without notifying us. My mother approached me and told me that she had been thinking about all that had transpired and wanted to apologize for any misconceptions. She stated that family was more important than arguments, and that she hoped we could resolve things for Sophia's sake. I was holding Sophia and trying to keep my voice down because we were in a public area with other families. I informed my mother that she could not just show up for medical appointments without authorization, and that we had requested time to straighten things out. My father stated that they had rights as grandparents and should be involved in key decisions regarding Sophia's health. He said that they have experience raising children, and that their advice could be beneficial to Sophia's well-being. Teresa was shooting shots of Sophia with her phone as my parents were speaking with me. When I urged her to stop, she explained that she wanted to capture Sophia's growth since they last saw her. She stated that my mother had been distraught at not being there to witness her granddaughter develop during these critical early months. The pediatrician's nurse called us back for our visit, and my family members attempted to follow us. I informed the nurse that only Ryan and I were Sophia's parents, and that the others had not been asked to the medical visit. The nurse stated that only parents could be present unless we provided written permission for others to attend. My mother thought this was ludicrous, and that grandparents should automatically be informed about their granddaughter's health. She stated that she had attended medical appointments for all of her other grandchildren, and that I was being harsh in excluding her. The nurse requested my mother to wait in the lobby and offered to speak with us after the appointment if we agreed. My mother claimed she would wait, but she appeared angry at being forced to go. During Sophia's exam, the doctor, Dr. Singh, inquired about any changes in our family situation from the last visit. I informed him about my family's unwelcome visit and the constant pressure we were facing regarding Sophia's name and their role in her care. Dr. Singh revealed that he had received a phone call the week before from someone claiming to be Sophia's grandma. The caller had in-depth concerns concerning Sophia's weight gain, feeding routine, and developmental milestones. She had also inquired whether there were any reservations about Sophia's parents' capacity to give adequate care. Dr. Singh stated that he did not offer any information during the phone call due to privacy restrictions, but that he did record the call in Sophia's medical record. He stated it was unusual for family members to call a pediatrician's office without the parents' knowledge or approval. He asked if we wanted him to add a note to Sophia's file, limiting who could receive information regarding her care. We agreed and requested him to ensure that only Ryan and I could obtain medical information on Sophia, or schedule appointments for her. When we left the appointment, my family was still waiting in the lobby. My mother inquired how Sophia was doing, and if she was meeting all of her developmental milestones. When I mentioned that the appointment went well, she requested particular information regarding Sophia's weight and height measures. I informed her that Sophia's medical information was private, and we were not comfortable sharing it with extended family members. My father claimed that the secrecy was indication that something was amiss, and that we were concealing issues with Sophia's health or development. Teresa stated that she had raised 5 children and could tell if Sophia was doing well simply by looking at her. She commented that Sophia appeared smaller than she should be for her age, and that we might not be feeding her properly. This conversation was taking place in front of other families with young children, and I could see them watching at us. Sophia started crying, most likely because she sensed the tension in the room. I tried to calm her down while my family discussed their concerns. My mother reached for Sophia and explained that she understood how to comfort babies because she had grandchildren. When I stepped back to prevent her from taking Sophia, she accused me of being anxious and overprotective. Ryan arrived at the pediatrician's office right as this dispute was taking place. He had been parking the car and was unaware that my family was present until he went into the foyer. When he realized what was going on, he immediately approached my family and requested them to leave us alone. My father claimed Ryan was the problem, and that he was turning me against my own kin. He stated that before Ryan entered the picture, I had always been respectful of family bonds and traditions. He said that Ryan's influence was forcing me to be selfish and ungrateful. Ryan stated that we had requested space, and that attending medical visits violated previously set boundaries. He stated that if they continued to harass us in public areas, we would have no choice but to contact law enforcement. My mother began crying, and expressed her want to be a part of her granddaughter's life. She claimed that she had been dreaming of being a grandma for years, and that I was depriving her the opportunity to develop a relationship with Sophia. Other folks in the waiting room were undoubtedly seeing the situation develop. A receptionist approached and inquired whether there was an issue that needed to be resolved. Ryan explained that we were going, and that the others were not with us. As we proceeded near the exit, Teresa announced that they knew where we lived, and were determined to have a relationship with Eleanor. Despite our numerous corrections, she continued to use Sophia's name as my grandmother's. That evening, Ryan and I called our lawyer, Mr. Alvarez, to tell him what had happened in the pediatrician's office. He stated that turning up for medical appointments may be deemed stalking or harassment, especially because we had already received a cease and desist letter. Mr. Alvarez stated that we have sufficient data to pursue a temporary restraining order. He stated that we would have to go to court and give evidence of the harassment, such as fraudulent referrals to social services, unannounced visits to our home and business, and the confrontation at the medical appointment. He stated that if the judge issued a temporary restraining order, my family members would be legally obligated to remain away from us, our home, Sophia's daycare, our workplaces, and all medical appointments. Violation of a restraining order will result in arrest and criminal penalties. 3 days later, we applied for a restraining order against my mother, father, and Aunt Teresa. The hearing was planned for the next week. Mr. Alvarez stated that my family members would be advised of the court date and might bring their own lawyer if they wished to contest our motion. The night before the hearing, my brother Liam called me. He stated that our parents had asked him to be a character witness at the court hearing. He explained that they wanted him to testify about how lovely our family had always been, and how much they adored Sophia. Liam expressed confusion regarding the legal situation because our parents had told him that we were being unreasonable. They claimed that all they wanted was a regular grandparent relationship with Sophia, and that we were using the legal system to punish them for caring too much. I told Liam everything that had transpired in the previous few months, including the fraudulent reports to social services, the harassment at Ryan's workplace, and the confrontation at Sophia's medical checkup. Liam stated that our parents had not told him about the majority of these instances. Liam stated that he did not want to take sides in a legal fight between me and my parents. He stated that he loved all of us and hoped that we could resolve our differences without the involvement of courts or attorneys. He chose not to attend the hearing as a witness for any party. Mr. Alvarez produced proof of my family's harassment at the restraining order hearing, including phone records, text messages, photos of unannounced visits, and documentation from the hospital social worker and pediatrician's office. He also heard voicemails recorded by my mother, who used Eleanor's name for Sophia, and threatened to find ways to force a relationship. My parents went to the hearing without a lawyer. When the judge asked if they wanted to respond to our request for a restraining order, my father explained that they were simply loving grandparents who were being kept apart from their granddaughter by their daughter's domineering husband. My mother expressed concern for Sophia's well-being, citing my postpartum depression and erratic decisions. She stated that they had only notified social services because they truly feared Sophia was not receiving adequate care. The judge examined all of the material and determined that the pattern of behavior alleged in our petition constituted unambiguous harassment. She stated that grandparents do not have the authority to impose connections with grandchildren or to meddle with their parents' medical and childcare decisions. The judge issued a 1-year restraining order against my mother, father, and Aunt Teresa. The injunction forbade them from contacting us directly or indirectly, visiting our homes or workplaces, attending Sophia's medical visits, or filing false reports with any government organizations. The judge also ordered my family to pay our legal bills since she determined that their behavior was intentionally disruptive and that they had ignored our earlier requests to respect our boundaries. Following the hearing, my mother approached me in the courthouse. A bailiff quickly intervened, reminding her that the restraining order was now in place, and that she should stay away from us. My father was debating with the bailiff over whether they may speak with us one more time to tell their side of the story. Mr. Alvarez escorted us out of the courthouse via a different exit to prevent more conflict. He stated that violations of restraining orders are taken severely by law enforcement, and that we should contact the police immediately if my family members attempted to make contact. 2 weeks after the restraining order was issued, we received a letter from another lawyer representing my parents. The letter noted that they were considering launching a lawsuit for grandparents' visitation rights and that they believed the restraining order was based on incorrect information. Mr. Alvarez wrote to their lawyer, stating that any attempt to seek for visitation rights while a restraining order was in issue would be considered harassment and could result in further legal ramifications. He further stated that our documentation of their actions would be useful evidence in any future legal procedures. Since then, we have had no direct touch with my parents or Aunt Teresa. Liam still contacts me on occasion, but he says our parents are upset that Sophia has been shut off from us. He claims that they spend the majority of their time discussing how unfair the court system is and how Ryan poisoned my mind against my own family. Sophia is already 6 months old and growing well. She is meeting all of her milestones and is a happy, healthy baby. Ryan and I have been able to focus on our new roles as parents without the continual burden of family harassment. The restraining order has 6 months left, and we intend to pursue an extension if there are any attempts to contact before it expires. Mr. Alvarez stated that the recorded history of harassment will make it simple to seek extra protection if necessary. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my previous update on the restraining order against my parents and Aunt Teresa. Sophia is now a year old, and I'd want to tell how everything was eventually handled after the issue took some unexpected turns. The restraining order was slated to expire in December, and Ryan and I intended to pursue an extension. We hadn't heard from my family since the court hearing, but Liam had stated that our parents were still discussing trying to see Sophia once the legal constraints lifted. Something happened in November that fundamentally altered the situation. Liam called and explained that he needed to tell me something crucial regarding our family. He explained that he had been digging through old boxes in our parents' basement to assist them arrange ahead of a planned move to a smaller house. Liam discovered a collection of papers and documents that belonged to our grandmother Eleanor. The box contained letters, diary entries, and medical data that our parents had retained following Eleanor's death. Liam stated that after reviewing these records, he now understands why I had such unpleasant memories of Eleanor. The documents were letters Eleanor had written to her sister Beatrice, complaining about having to babysit Liam and me. Eleanor regarded us as difficult and pampered youngsters who required strong discipline to learn good behavior. Eleanor had written comprehensive descriptions of the punishments she imposed, such as putting us in the basement and withholding food. She described these tactics as if they were common parenting techniques that our parents were too soft to employ themselves. She lamented that our parents had spoilt us and that someone needed to teach us respect. Liam also uncovered diary entries in which Eleanor expressed her hate for children in general. She said that babysitting was a hardship and that she despised having to spend her weekends dealing with ungrateful grandchildren. She described Liam and me in harsh terms, claiming that we were proof that modern parents had no idea how to raise children correctly. The most frightening records were Eleanor's notes on her contacts with the other grandchildren in our extended family. She had filed identical accusations against my cousins and mentioned employing the same punishing measures on them. Liam learned Eleanor had been systematically mistreating several children for many years. Liam stated that after reading these articles, he felt uncomfortable about how our family depicted Eleanor as a caring grandmother. He stated that the evidence plainly demonstrated that Eleanor had been abusive, and that our parents were either unaware of it or decided to overlook it. Liam presented these documents to our parents and confronted them about Eleanor's actions. According to Liam, our mother originally attempted to defend Eleanor by claiming that the letters and diary entries had been taken out of context. She stated that Eleanor was from a different generation and that her punishment tactics were typical for the time. Our father was very upset by what Liam had discovered. He stated that he believed Eleanor was overly severe with us, but he trusted our mother's judgment in leaving us with her. He stated that if he had known about Eleanor's punishments, he would not have permitted her to babysit us. Liam stated that our parents argued for several days about the documents and their implications for our family status. Our mother was unwilling to confess that Eleanor had done anything wrong, since it would imply that her entire campaign to have Sophia named after Eleanor was based on honoring an abusive individual. Our father eventually stated that they needed to face the reality about Eleanor, and that they owed me an apology for pressing me to use her name. He remarked that if Eleanor had treated Liam and me as depicted in the documents, my refusal to honor her memory made perfect sense. 2 weeks later, Liam called to say our parents wanted to meet with Ryan and me to discuss the problem. He stated that they were prepared to accept that they had been mistaken about Eleanor, and that they wanted to apologize for all that had occurred over the previous year. Liam stated that our parents understood why we had received a restraining order, and that they did not intend to challenge the legal limits. He stated that they only wanted a chance to convey what they had uncovered and see if there was any prospect of restoring our connection. Ryan and I discussed whether we should agree to meet with our parents. We were both doubtful that a single talk could repair all of the harm to our family relationships. We were also apprehensive that this could be another manipulation attempt to gain access to Sophia. We agreed to meet with our parents in a neutral venue, with our lawyer Mr. Alvarez present. We agreed to meet at his office so that we may have legal recourse if the conversation went wrong. Liam decided to attend the meeting as a mediator to assist everyone stay focused on resolving the concerns. At the meeting, our parents brought copies of the documents Liam discovered in Eleanor's folders. Our mother was visibly uncomfortable, but she conceded that the evidence showed Eleanor had mistreated Liam and me. She claimed that she idealized her recollections of Eleanor, and did not want to consider that her mother may have been violent. Our father apologized for his involvement in the pressure campaign over Sophia's name. He claimed that he had trusted our mother's judgment about Eleanor without personally checking the case. He explained that if he had listened to my concerns about Eleanor from the start, the entire problem may have been averted. Our mother's apology was more difficult for her to deliver. She explained that she had been so concentrated on upholding family customs, that she had rejected my love for Eleanor. She claimed that discovering the records forced her to face the reality that her mother had harmed her grandchildren, and failed to protect us. She also apologized for filing false reports with social services and harassing Ryan's family and our employer. She stated that she had convinced herself that we were making horrible judgments about Sophia's care, but that she now realizes she was attempting to control our parenting choices because she could not accept that we were independent adults. Mr. Alvarez inquired about our parents' expectations from this meeting and the improvements they were willing to make going ahead. Our father explained that they realized we might never want to have a close relationship with them again, but they hoped we would consider allowing supervised visits with Sophia in the future. Our mother stated that she wished to support our decision regarding Sophia's name and would stop referring to her as Eleanor. She stated she understood why the name was upsetting to me, and that she should have listened when I initially expressed my concerns about my grandma. Ryan asked our parents what they were going to do about Aunt Teresa, who had been one of the most aggressive participants in the harassing campaign. Our father explained that Teresa had been acting on information from our mother, and that they would convey the current situation to her. Our mother predicted that Teresa would struggle to accept the truth about Eleanor because she had idealized her recollections of our grandma. She stated that they would inform Teresa that any further harassment of our family will harm her relationship with them as well. Liam suggested we take a cautious approach to restoring family bonds. He suggested that our parents send cards or letters to Sophia on holidays and birthdays, without expecting an immediate reaction from us. He stated that if they can consistently respect our boundaries over time, we may consider allowing limited interaction in the future. Ryan and I agreed that we needed time to consider whether we wanted to repair connections with our parents. We stated that the restraining order would stay in effect until it expired, and that any future contact would have to adhere to tight rules that we would set. We also suggested that our parents make apologies with other family members who had been impacted by the campaign to pressure us concerning Sophia's name. When our parents asked them to pick sides in the battle, several of our relatives found themselves in uncomfortable situations. Our mother decided to contact Ryan's mother, Linda, and apologize for spreading incorrect information about my mental health. She stated that she would explain that her concerns were founded on wrong assumptions and that she apologized for bringing stress to Ryan's family. The discussion concluded with our parents agreeing to respect the remainder of the restraining order and to wait for us to contact them if we decided to try to repair our relationship. Mr. Alvarez stated that he would prepare a written agreement describing what had been discussed so that everyone understood the expectations moving ahead. Following the meeting, Ryan and I spent several weeks debating whether we should give our parents another chance. We both felt that their apologies were genuine, and that discovering the truth about Eleanor had been a watershed moment for them. We agreed to allow restricted communications until the restraining order expired. We agreed that our parents could send Sophia birthday and holiday cards and call us briefly once a month. We stated that any future in-person visits would have to be scheduled in advance and would be initially overseen by Liam. When the restraining order expired in December, our parents sent Sophia a Christmas card with a simple message, wishing her well and expressing their intention to be a part of her life someday. They offered a small gift, but did not request a response or want to visit her. We've spoken with our parents on the phone several times in the last several months. The calls have been courteous but awkward as we all try to find out how to engage after what transpired. Our parents inquire about Sophia's progress and provide updates on their own lives, but they avoid discussing old problems. We led our parents to see Sophia for the first time since her birth in March. The visit lasted 2 hours and was held in Liam's residence, with him serving as a supervisor. Our parents were visibly frightened and excited to see Sophia, but they adhered to all of the boundaries we had established, including not taking photos and not interfering with our parental decisions. Sophia is now 15 months old, walking and beginning to utter words. She was shy around our parents during the visit, which was understandable given that she had never met them before. Our parents remained patient and did not try to push interactions with her. Our relationship with our parents remains very restricted and fragile. We are starting cautiously because we do not want Sophia to be exposed to family drama if our parents resume their prior domineering behavior. The trust that was shattered during the name conflict will take years to recover, if at all. Teresa has not taken part in any of the reconciliation initiatives. According to Liam, she was really unhappy when our parents informed her of the documents they discovered concerning Eleanor. She accused our parents of violating Eleanor's memory, and she refused to accept Eleanor's mistreatment of her grandchildren. Teresa has evidently told other extended family members that our parents are lying about Eleanor to satisfy us, and that the entire family is disintegrating because people no longer respect their elders. Liam stated that Teresa's reaction has helped our parents comprehend how they were thinking about family loyalty before learning the truth about Eleanor. Looking back on the scenario, I believe the most essential lesson is that family traditions and bonds should not be sacrificed at the expense of safeguarding children from harm. My parents were so committed to upholding their romanticized image of Eleanor that they were willing to disregard my abuse allegations and punish me when I refused to honor her memory. The legal system eventually safeguarded Sophia and our family from further harassment. However, it needed tangible evidence of Eleanor's violent behavior for my parents to recognize that my views about her were justified. I wish they had listened to me from the start, rather than demanding proof that my grandmother had documented her own cruelty of children. Sophia will grow up knowing her grandparents, but their connection will be different than if the disagreement had not occurred. My parents will have to earn their position in her life, rather than assuming instant respect because of their familial status. The greatest positive effect is that this circumstance has strengthened my bond with Ryan and demonstrated that we can successfully safeguard our family when necessary. We learned to set boundaries, seek legal assistance when necessary, and prioritize our child's well-being over family unity. Sophia's full name is Sophia Grace, and that's what everyone calls her now. She will never have to bear the name of someone who harmed her mother, and she will grow up in a family that values her safety and well-being over traditions that are harmful.